The equation itself is pretty simple. Job activities on the top, the numerator, and then eligibility and suitability as the denominators, which equal potential job performance.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the individual components. Let's talk about eligibility and suitability. What's eligibility?
Eligibility is a person's skill, experience, and training. It's the kind of thing that you see on a resume. And what eligibility is going to tell you that somebody can do the job. Suitability is a person's natural inclinations, natural tendencies, their natural preferences. It's the suitability of those intrinsic qualities that we all have that make performance really outstanding, that make us really excellent in doing a job. And when I started looking at this, eligibility is obviously very easy to determine. The question for me was, how do you look at this suitability component? How do you get something that was objective and concrete? Because that's really what I wanted to do, is provide a concrete way to assess this very important dynamic of hiring. You hear a lot of people talking about they hire for attitude, and that gets more into that type of suitability range. The problem for me was how do you assess attitude? And actually I had a very big breakthrough in my thinking when I was introduced to the work of Dan Harrison, PhD. Dr. Harrison has spent a number of years looking at job performance traits and job performance characteristics. And what really engaged me about his research was that he's taking these things that were somewhat mushy to me and he starts putting them on an objective basis by basing them on two very definable cause-effect theories. The first theory is joy performance theory. What joy performance theory basically states is we perform better if we enjoy the tasks in the job, if our interests are aligned with the activities in the job, and if we like the work environment and the kind of interpersonal relationships that we're going to engage in the job. You know, it's the joy factor. And it makes sense when you think about it. I mean, it's a very simple theory, but it makes sense because when you think about something that you don't like to do, what happens? You know, we resist it, put it off to the last minute. When we actually do it, it probably takes us a lot more energy because we have to overcome the fact that I just don't like doing this. On the other hand, think about what happens when you like to do something. You know, you get that sense of, boy, this is fun, and you get very engaged in it, and it really taps into that dimension of performance for you. You know, we're in the middle of the Olympics right now, and when you look at those games going on and you watch people, you know, really out there working hard and competing and the joy that goes and the hands are going up in the air, I mean, that's really what you're looking at when you look at joy in the work. Now let's look at the hard reality of that. People who enjoy at least 75% of the tasks or the activities in a job, research shows are 3 times more likely to succeed in the job. So really finding people who enjoy their work is a major determinant of suitability. The other theory that Dan Harrison uses in assessing suitability is paradox theory. And what paradox theory really does is it looks at what we do as human beings, that we have to have sometimes traits that seem not complementary, that they seem opposite, but they go together to create good situational awareness, our ability to respond to a situation that is presented to us or a variety of situations that are presented to us. A good example of that is communication. If you're going to be a great communicator, there are times that you're going to need to communicate frankly. There are times you're going to need to be diplomatic. So you have to have the ability to be both frank or diplomatic as the situation requires. So if a situation requires somebody to be direct with you, you want to be able to put that on the table. If you're talking to somebody who you know is going to require a little bit more tact, you want to flex to that. So we want to look at the interplay of traits as we're looking at what is suitability. So if you enjoy what you're doing, you have the ability to respond to the situations that are presented by a job and be effective in that, then you've got a good foundation and a good theoretical foundation for getting a concrete definition of what is suitability.